Highly anticipated Indian Wells third round match between Coco Gauff and Alex Eala ended in disappointing, really heartbreaking fashion as Coco retired down 2-6 love 2 due to a left arm injury. Gauff won their previous match a couple weeks ago in the Dubai quarterfinals, only dropping 2 games. It was 6 love 6-2. This match, of course, was very different. Coco didn't hold serve one time in the match. She had 4 game points at 2-1, and she had a 40-love lead at 2-3, but couldn't get over the finish line due to double faults or just errant forehands. Gauff, who finished the match with 7 double faults, noticeably went for a lot more on her second serve in this match, hitting it with an average speed of 98 miles per hour at one point.
The game was over. After leaving the game, Coco Gauff went to the net and spoke quietly with Alex Eala. Gauff just told the world exactly what transpired at that net, yet no one in the stadium heard what was said. Furthermore, it tells more about these two athletes than any score could. Do you think their rivalry will change in the future now that you know what Eala said to Gauff at the net and all Gauff said about her afterwards? Post your opinions in the comments section right now. Let's dive right in.
That'll probably do it, yeah. Well, that stinks. 2 of the game's brightest stars. You hear Coco Gauff apologizing. There's no need for that.
My arm is like going like this the whole time, so I'm sorry.
An apologetic Coco Gauff. That just speaks to her class. She is a one of one.
During her post-match press conference at Indian Wells, Coco Gauff was asked the subject that everyone had been wondering about. When they reunited at the net following the retirement, what did Alex Eala truly say to her? Because there was obviously a moment there. It seems like both players were affected by the outcome of the game. Gauff had a sorrowful expression. Eala appeared worried. After exchanging words for a short while, they parted ways. Gauff gave a straightforward response. She claimed that Eala expressed her hope that she would feel better. Such things. Brief, sincere, human. There was only one contender checking on another in a moment that had nothing to do with rankings or trophies. No drama, no performance. And in a way, that response, that little, silent exchange at the net, says more about Alex Eala than any of the game's statistics. Because it's simple to accept defeat with grace. Being truly compassionate after a victory is somewhat different, especially if you've been waiting for 2 weeks to get revenge on the person who had defeated you 6-0 in a prior match. However, there's a lot going on here, and it is all worth thoroughly examining. So let's take a step back and assemble the whole picture. These 2 players squared off at the Dubai Tennis Championships 2 weeks before to Indian Wells. Eala was defeated by Gauff 6-0, 6-2. It's not a tight game based on that score. It's a shutout. That's the kind of outcome that goes viral on social media, with remarks about how far Eala still lags behind the world's best players. Look, such remarks weren't totally incorrect at the time. On that particular day, Gauff was the superior player. She was in charge. She had complete control throughout the match, and Eala was unable to break through. Therefore, most people anticipated a similar narrative when they were reunited by the draw at Indian Wells. The same players, same outcome. When there is such a large disparity in quality, it is often how things operate. However, it seems that Eala had other ideas. When she returned to Indian Wells, her strategy was quite different. She discussed using the lessons learned from Dubai and changing things in her own post-match interview. Being more aggressive, keeping her focus sharper, playing with greater intensity in her legs, in her movement, in how she controlled the tempo of rallies. And it started working right away. Gauff appeared to be up against a completely different opponent from the opening set. The statistics provide a clear picture of the situation. 68% of Ellie's initial serves were successful. On that first serve, she won 59% of the points. 5 of the 6 breakpoint opportunities she produced were converted. In opposition to the world number 4, against a Grand Slam champion who has won twice. Those are not fortunate numbers. These are the numbers of a player who entered the game with a strategy, carried it out, and caused her opponent discomfort right from the start of the game. Gauff, on the other hand, was dealing with a physical issue from the beginning of the first set. During the game, she called the trainer, who treated her left arm and shoulder. Her proportion of first serves fell to 44%. In the opening set alone, she made 7 double faults. Her decision to retire was no longer shocking by the time the second set began, and she dropped her serve in the second game. When it would arrive was the only question, not if. However, this is the most important thing Gauff said during her news conference, the portion that didn't receive nearly as much attention as it should have. She admitted that she felt terrible about leaving. "You should never retire from a match," she advised. Then she made a specific addition. She claimed that because of how great Eala was performing, she felt worse about it. She stated that she didn't want to detract from Eala's performance. Go back and read that. The player who had to leave a game due to physical discomfort or an injury that prevented them from playing further. Making sure her opponent received credit was her first priority during the news conference. Given that she didn't have to say it, Gauff's statement is noteworthy and significant coming from a player of her caliber. She may have just discussed the injury, conveyed her regret, and moved on. Rather, she made it her mission to inform everyone that Eala was playing excellent tennis and should be given full credit for it. Additionally, she made a statement that made it clear how much she respects Eala as a rival. She stated that rather than retiring, she would have preferred to finish the game and lose 6-0. Take a moment to consider what that means. The Grand Slam winner, ranked number 4 in the world, would have rather taken a total beating at Stadium 1 at Indian Wells than leave the game unfinished. Competitive pride is what that is. Additionally, the way she presented it. Eala's performance is even more important because I don't want to minimize it. She said, "I think she's going to have a great tournament," almost as an aside. That's hardly an insignificant statement coming from Coco Gauff. That's a forecast from someone who just spent more than an hour on Eala's court and witnessed firsthand what she can do when everything is working together. The tennis world pays heed when the 4th-ranked player says she believes you will have an amazing tournament. Let's now discuss the rivalry's larger background and why it has emerged as one of the most intriguing plots on the women's tour at the moment. Now, the head-to-head is 1-1. 2 games, 2 entirely different outcomes. From the beginning to the end, Gauff was the better player in Dubai. Eala was so dominant in Indian Wells prior to his retirement that the match appeared to be headed toward an even more lopsided final score than Dubai, but in the other way. This type of swing indicates that neither player has fully grasped the other, therefore any future encounters between them will be truly unpredictable. And right now, women's tennis needs just that kind of rivalry. Not only is there a well-established dynamic amongst the top 5 players, who are all extremely familiar with each other's styles of play, but there is also a rising contender who has the ability to put on one of the best performances of the current season 2 weeks after being crushed. That story is captivating. And both players possess the character and skill to keep it going. For her part, Gauff has always been kind while discussing Eala. After winning handily back in Dubai, she expressly thanked Eala for attracting new fans to the sport. She described the Dubai stadium as being fantastic for tennis and described how Filipino fans had transformed it into a home crowd. When they're not playing each other, she says she understands why people cheer for Eala and that she does too. In professional sports, it's not usually the case that an established celebrity will show public generosity toward a budding star. When a rival gains headway, some players become defensive. Gauff has taken the opposite action. She has increased Eala's influence on the sport by using her own platform. And since Gauff has a sizable fan base and a significant voice in tennis discussions throughout the world, that support has a significant impact on how fans who may not have been following Eala carefully yet view her. The regard is equally sincere on Eala's end. She described Gauff as a fantastic player who will always give you a hard time during her news conference following the Indian Wells match. She talked about concentrating only on what she could manage herself and not being able to influence how well your opponent plays. She didn't commemorate her retirement. She didn't take advantage of the chance to elevate the victory above what it actually was. She concentrated on her own performance as the match's lesson, acknowledged the situation, and showed sincere concern for Gauff's health. And whether or not there was an injury, what a performance. You don't go 6-2 and unintentionally break someone's serve 5 times. It takes more than luck to keep up a 68% first serve percentage against a player in the top 5. That victory had a solid base. It was an actual execution. and Gauff made sure to make this known, which puts an end to any narrative that attempts to downplay Eala's actions on that court. The next match is against Linda Noskova in the round of 16. Noskova is strong, has enough experience at this level, and strikes the ball hard to be truly dangerous. Eala enters that match with something that is quite challenging to produce, but she won't make things simple. Genuine confidence, not merely outcomes, is the foundation of momentum. The kind of self-assurance that results from outperforming a Grand Slam champion on the biggest court at one of the greatest tournaments in the world, to the point where the champion goes out of her way to give you credit in her own news conference. Alex Eala is now in that location. 20 years old, 31st in the world, and still rising. For the first time in her career, Coco Gauff is in the round of 16 at Indian Wells, and she told the world that she believes the competition is about to get much more exciting. It was an easy whisper at the net. Things like, "Get well soon." Nothing spectacular. Nothing meant for the cameras. Just two nice human beings who respect each other in a situation where neither of them intended it to end the way it did. However, the entire story lies in that brief moment at the net. When no one writes about Eala, it reveals who she is. When the match is over and Gauff has nothing more to prove, it reveals who she is. It also indicates that this rivalry will be worth closely observing, regardless of how it develops over the coming years. Because while tennis is a fantastic sport, the players are even more amazing. Coco Gauff did more than just post what Eala stated online. She expressed to the public her exact thoughts on this rivalry and its future direction. To be honest, it's difficult to disagree with her. Click like and subscribe to follow each chapter of this narrative as it develops. It's far from over.